how many of your thoughts do you really remember? We can only really think about one or two things at a time. And really, well, at least for me, even if I think about a couple things at a time, it's one thing at a time with the idea that I should keep this in mind as well. And oftentimes, I'll also forget what it is I wanted to keep track of. When I turn back, I forget what I was thinking about before. We forget things very quickly if we don't consider them important enough to remember. When you drive down the road, you might notice this building that is, or restaurant or whatever, but you won't actually remember what it is most of the time later on. This is because our brains are very generic. We only, they're efficient. They can't bother remembering things that just don't really matter. But this also means that our thoughts can be very vague and indistinct. When you think things like, I should be more productive, or I should go for exercise more, it's so vague that you won't really ever do it. Or even things like, I should study more, or my grades, I should take more care of my grades, maybe, or even things like I should take more note of my work-life balance. These are so vague that you'll never really take note of them. And now this happens for everything, which is fine, but you should take note of the ones that are important to you. And you get to decide what's important. So for example, if you think that your relationship, for example, is important, you should actually take note of the things that you feel and why you feel them, and maybe talk it out, rather than just maybe feeling annoyed with something your partner does or whatever. And the reason I say this is because I notice myself constantly thinking things in very vague terms that are unactionable. So for example, saying I should play less video games is useless. And even if you say I should just quit video games, that's not going to be effective either. But if you say I should limit my play for this game to this amount of time, then that's a lot more actionable than I should play less video games. Now, of course, this is also, it's not very effective either. I actually wouldn't recommend you do that if you want to, if your goal is to quit video games. For me, what was more effective in actually quitting video games was the focus on the fact that I don't actually gain value from this game. And I don't just mean like financial value, emotional value, whatever, but like I didn't actually have fun. So I'll give you an example. So some games, well, let's use League of Legends. That's one I played for a long time before I was a bit on and off, but I just didn't actually have fun most of the time. And I what I would do is I would, like, at the point where I was already not playing very much, but between sometimes opening and playing a few games to quitting, the main thing was I noticed myself opening the game because I habitually open the game to play it. I queue up because I'm gonna play the game. I go into champion select and I'm like, I don't feel like playing any of these champions. I don't actually want to experience this game, as in like, you're playing a different game depending on what champion you're playing, right? So it's like, I don't actually want to experience the game of playing this champion or any of these champions. And eventually I was like, why am I opening this game? I'm not going to. Or I'll give you another example. When I uninstall an app that with like on like one of these basically like semi-idle games, like that's pretty much how most mobile games are now. You like log in every day, do a list of things, and then it's like a chore, and then these numbers go up, this, you unlock this feature, that feature, whatever, and then you're like, you just quit, right? But like, what actually goes from quit, like, what if you thought more, well, I was thinking more concretely about the process of quitting, which is, I was thinking to myself, this game is now taking an hour of my day. Why am I playing this game? And then I went, what if I quit? And then in the moment I thought about quitting, there was a part of my brain that goes, don't quit. You just log on again. You do this every day. It's efficient to keep building on it because you have all of the things in place to keep being efficient with it if you log in every day. And I'm like, this is me not wanting to lose something that I've built that isn't actually worth anything to me. Like, I don't actually, I lose the habit of continuing to do this every day because it was effective in the confines of the rules of the game. So like I felt like I was playing this game inefficiently now. And it's like, why am I doing this? And the other thing is, the reason that helped me, the thing that helped me to actually uninstall it from that noticing I had that thought is my previous commitment to myself that I'm working on the habit of taking notice when I think I should do something and then go, I don't want to do it. And I'm building the habit of when I think that, more often than before, I will try to act on it anyway. When I go, I don't want to do that though. And I'm not saying, like, there's a number of things I could be doing that fall under that list. I could go out more. I could run 10 kilometers every day or whatever, some ridiculous, stupid stuff. But, you know, it's like I'm working on the habit of doing that more than before. Which is, you know, I mean, it sounds a lot better than it is, but like by framing it like that for myself, it helps. Now, so if I never had that precise thought in my head before, I probably would have just not uninstalled and kept wasting an hour a day on something that meant nothing to me. And I'm not saying I don't waste an hour a day on doing things that don't matter, but the concreteness of the words help to take action. I'll give you another example. So if you think I should be more productive, what are you doing in specific terms to make yourself more productive? Now, I mean, I feel like I should be more productive too, but it's not as I feel like I'm already trying to be, but it's mostly my ability to focus for longer periods of time, and that will be something I'm working on next. But let's say you want to be okay. Here's another one, actually. This is a good one. Let's say you have the thought that you don't know what you want to do with your life. Like, you don't know what career you want to go into. So you procrastinate. This is something that I did, and a lot of people do. Genuinely, it's this is a very difficult question. But the first thing is that you don't need to choose your career. Your career is something that is dynamic and changing. The most important thing is to start with a skill you want to build. And that skill can usually be a job. For example, let's say the skill of writing code, right? And currently I started with the skill of writing code. I'm developing a game right now. I'm looking to build more skills, and we'll see and that will open more options for me, and I won't always stay in game development or writing code. But that wasn't my plan. I just procrastinated originally. But if you find yourself constantly thinking, you know, I don't know what I want to do with my life, so I'm just gonna forget about it, say I'm gonna find it in the future, and then focus on what I'm doing now. But the thing about focusing on what you're doing right now is that what you're doing right now won't take you closer to this. And what you're doing right now, you probably don't really care about. It's really just a distraction. And distractions are everybody has them. Everybody has them. I have them. One of them is the thing that delayed me from, for example, even exercising, something everybody should do, but that delayed me from exercising is I distracted myself from my self-criticism of not exercising by just reading light novels, whatever, and never actually stopping and hating the fact that I'm too lazy to actually get up and exercise, for example. So I distracted myself from my self-criticism, and that was what delayed my actions. So, for example, if you go, I'll figure it out in, say, 4 or 5 years in terms of my career, why not just take, let's say, 10 minutes a day to listen to people talk about their careers? Just different people, maybe even TED Talks. say I'll listen to a TED Talk a day from someone of a different career. And if I feel like what they're doing is interesting, maybe I'll investigate more. That may not help you find your career, but I mean, at least they'll give you interesting information. It could help you find things that you find interesting, and it can, give you more to work with on that end. So don't just think vaguely. You have to be specific. Always. Anyways. The thing about being specific is that when you are specific enough, you can look to solve a problem, right? It's like, this is the specific problem or specific result I want. What inputs can I do to get this, to work towards this result? Another simple example is, rather than saying I want to be fit, think I want to do more exercise, and then work backwards from that with, I want to start by doing a little bit of exercise. What if I did 10 push-ups a day? Just 10 push-ups a day. And if I feel like it's easy, maybe I'll do a few more. Something like that. Like, it's very simple. The simpler you make it, the easier it is to do it. And the more precise it is, the easier it is for you to think about how you actually want to do it. Okay. And now I'll talk about the mistakes I made before. Or something I learned in terms of something I didn't understand clearly before. Okay. So like when you hear about business and talking about why this millionaires, whatever, make more money than you with less work, they always talk about leverage. And I never really understood what they were talking about when they said leverage, until I heard it described in a... Actually, how did he describe it? So I was listening to someone talk, and he said it, that it was they move more money. So like, for example, if you but like, it's not just about moving money. It's resources, leadership, whatever. It's like, if you're in charge of a team and you have the team do something, then your leverage means that you make more money for the same work, or less work, actually. So your work was you telling them what to do, and then if the team is big enough, they can make more money. But it's not exactly that either. So before, my mistake was, and the reason I didn't understand it was because my idea of leverage was in terms of, if I have leverage over you, you have to listen to what I do. But now leverage, so it's like, it's the way the lever works, right? So it's like, you apply less force, you get more result. So if I have leverage over you, I can make you do more with less because you have to listen to me. But in terms of business, they just have more resources, so they can do more with less. And the example they used for their leverage was who they were in contact with. So because they were in contact with rich people or big businesses, they could do the same work, but because the big businesses gain more. So let's say they could add 10% value to a business. A business worth $200,000 that gains $20,000 might pay them $5,000. A business that's worth $2 million that gains 10% gains $200,000, and maybe they'll pay them $50,000. Same work, more leverage. And the leverage in this case is who they have contact with and who their clients are. So the right clients plus leverage, better work plus leverage, better skill set plus leverage. And now the other thing is about what value you want to bring to people. For a lot of people, purpose in life is to bring value to others that they needed the most. So, or in other words, it's the lesson they learned most deeply themselves that they now want to share with others. And help others in the way they most needed it. So what happens is they experience an event, and the event transforms them. It becomes internalized, and now they go, I want to share this event to other people. I'll give you an example. Simon Sinek, which I love listening to, who I love listening to, he experienced burnout at a job he felt like he was supposed to enjoy. He made his own business. It was successful. It was working. It was making money, but he hated going to work. And what changed it was finding why. Finding his why, which was that he wants to inspire people. And so he made it. Now his goal is to teach people. So first he wants to make people feel inspired to go to work. But the thing is that the process of him finding his why allows him to now do work that inspires himself, and he wants to share that by helping others do work that inspires them. And one case of it was helping others find their why. That was the first step. And so that was also sharing the experience of him. But his general purpose is also sharing the experience of being inspired to work. So that's his example. Another example is Simon Sinek also told a story about someone who was abused by their parents, but they protected their siblings, and now they find purpose in helping others and protecting others from certain events, right? I don't remember the exact example. I think it was some form of charity work or something, but it's like they needed protection and they had to do it for themselves, and they want to help other people so it's easier for other people and that they don't have to do it for themselves. Tom Bilyeu wants to experience the change in his life from learning that people can learn. Well, people can grow and gain any skill they want. And so now he wants to teach that message to other people. Because he went from what he considers mediocre to now a very successful entrepreneur through that transformational message. And he wants other people to transform themselves into their own, someone that they fit. Anyways, there's plenty of examples, but basically the people who experienced deep resonation with an event or experience in their lives now want to share it. And so that's a possible path for some people if you want to provide value to other people. Okay. Okay. Something else that I'm actually kind of worried about is like I'm making these journals to clarify my thoughts, as I mentioned earlier, right? I'm trying to make my thoughts more concrete, because when you think things, a lot of the time it's very vague. So I'm trying to really take a look at some of the words, how I would describe some of my thoughts, and paint a clear picture so I can actually evaluate these thoughts of mine. And the problem is that I listen to some people, I listen to these, but I don't actually experience that much in terms of interrelations. I mostly just, like, one of my biggest concerns, I should say, is that I end up living in this echo chamber I create for myself because I'm not interacting with enough people. So it's like I don't get enough external influence on myself. But I mean, it's funny because most people are worrying what other people think. Like you always hear, don't worry about what other people think because nobody's thinking about you. But for me, it's like I have so little interrelations that I'm worried I don't have enough influence. So that's one of my notes that I want to internalize for myself, which is the reason I said it, because I need to articulate it and format it in a way that I can communicate and therefore make it more of an imprint on my mind. Okay. I have a couple other notes on here, but it's already 20 minutes, so I'm gonna cut today's journal off for now, and I will come again tomorrow.